Welcome back to On the Move with Victor Shi. This is Victor Shi. It is Tuesday, July 11th. It's been under a week since the new text-based social media platform Threads launched, and whatever you may think of the app, the numbers have been remarkable. Over the weekend, Threads hit over 100 million downloads, which according to Mark Zuckerberg, has come organically and with little promotion. At the same time, because of this, Twitter traffic has also taken a dramatic dip. So just how big is Threads and what should we expect from it? What does Threads mean for the future of social media? What will happen to Twitter? I am joined by my favorite tech reporter out there, Taylor Lorenz. She is a tech reporter for The Washington Post and is the author of a book that will come out later this year called Extremely Online, The Untold Story of Fame, Influence, and Power on the Internet. Taylor, it is so great to have you at what feels like such a transformational moment for social media. Thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So your job is to cover internet, and I'm wondering, what do you make of Threads so far? And has there ever been an app that has kind of rivaled Threads in terms of the number of users who have signed up within the first, I guess, under a week?
No, I mean, this is the fastest growing app. It beat out ChatGPT, which was the fastest growing product. I mean, of course, these are signups, not monthly active users. Well, they're monthly active users for this month. We don't know about, next month and how it's going to sustain. But no, I mean, this is the fastest growing app that we've seen ever. I think it's breaking records every moment.
That's remarkable. I mean, and as someone who has used Threads and is on all the social media platforms, I mean, what do you make of Threads so far? The user experience, your experience on it, the people you've talked to.
So far, I think it's fun. I mean, I think that the way that they've allowed you to really easily import your Instagram social graph is really fantastic because it just lets users get set up on the platform much more quickly and easily, and you can find your friends. And that's always the biggest problem on these social networks is building that sort of network effect. I think it's still very bare bones. Like it needs DMs, it needs search, it needs hashtags and things like that. So I think Adam Mosseri, the Instagram CEO, said that they're planning to roll a lot of that out in the coming weeks.
Cool. I mean, you had such a great thread on the first day, and I think it's so true, which is that like every time there's a new social media platform, the most challenging thing is finding like which personality to use. I mean, what is the type of content you're seeing on Threads so far, and how is that different from other social media platforms?
Well, I haven't seen any anti-vax conspiracies on Threads so far, which is a nice change from Twitter. I think, Threads right now, people are trying to figure out how to use it. I think a lot of users, Instagram users that were never Twitter users, signed up for Threads and are sort of trying to figure out how to use it. And so that's why I think you're seeing a lot of people posting like, what do I say on here? Asking silly questions because they almost don't know what to say, which is really similar to early Twitter, actually. And then you have the journalists and the people that are sort of Twitter diehards that come onto Threads, and they already know how to use these text-based social platforms. So they're sharing stories, they're chatting about stuff. I do think it seems like a more controlled, because of the community guidelines. Threads has the same community guidelines as Instagram. It does feel like a more controlled kind of corporate environment.
I mean, you mentioned the journalists on there, and I feel like one of the biggest reasons why Twitter was so popular is because you could easily spread news and people can easily consume news. Do you think we're getting the same with Threads, at least from kind of what you've been seeing?
Certainly. I mean, I think that news, and I've written about this, is just such a core area of interest for people on the internet. That is what they go to social media for, is for news, despite what these social platforms want them to be there for, which is just fun entertainment. But, news is also a form of entertainment, and people want to be informed and learn about the world. So there's tons of people turning to Threads for news. I already have a lot of followers on there myself. People that turn to me for news about tech and internet culture. So yeah, it's a big place for it already.
I mean, how do you think like Threads will kind of compare to something like TikTok? Because I mean, I have a lot of, at least my peers and my friends who are on Threads and TikTok. Do you think Threads will be kind of the text-based version of TikTok?
Yeah, I think so. I think TikTok is sort of and I wrote this recently, TikTok's really like the town square these days, which is what Twitter used to occupy, where you can go, you can reach people en masse, you can, share your story and go viral. But I don't know. I think it'll be a complement to TikTok. I don't see it replacing TikTok. TikTok is so engaging, and people really do like to get their information in bite-sized video digestible format. So I don't see that going away, but I do see Threads being a really important resource for breaking news. Like be saying, hey, was there that highway collapse or whatever, right? Like, let me search on Threads, see if anyone's posted about it. I live in California. We have earthquakes here, you know? So that's the kind of thing that you might turn to Twitter for. TikTok's going to be a little bit harder to get those like real-time updates. So I think people might start turning to Threads in the way that they turn to Twitter.
Interesting. So you mentioned the fact that Threads doesn't have a lot of these like anti-vaccination campaigns and far right extremists as of kind of yet. But I mean, what are the type of policies you think should be in place to make sure Threads doesn't end up like Twitter and become basically the cesspool of right-wing extremism and disinformation?
Yeah, and we do see right-wing extremists already flocking to Threads and trying to exploit it. We saw Donald Trump Jr. complaining about it. You know, libs of TikTok, gays against groomers. All those influencers are there. They are trying to exploit this new space. But I think, you know, Instagram has pretty strong community guidelines. I don't think they're very nuanced enough right now but Facebook has been in the, you know, Facebook has been under scrutiny for years at this point for misinformation and the spread of misinformation. So they have a lot more sort of robust policies in place than Twitter, certainly. So, you know, I think it'll be interesting to watch as the platform scales and evolves how well they're able to handle this influx of users. Right now, you know, myself and other reporters have not been able to confirm if Facebook has hired any more moderators, which is something that they would really need to do. I don't think that they anticipated this big new influx of users, but they're going to need a lot more moderators to handle issues surrounding the content that's posted on this new platform.
I mean, in terms of the kind of employees behind this, I mean, what can you tell our audience about how many people are working on Threads? Because I mean, having to deal with 100 million signups seems like a big load. I mean, how many people are behind this? Do they have enough staffers or workers?
It's a really small team. They did not anticipate that this would blow up in the way it did. It just kind of was like almost an afterthought. Like as I understand it, came together in a meeting that was maybe only like 30 people. Just Casey Newton has reported extensively on this, but like, you know, they're like, oh, let's give it a go, or let's try and capture some of the market. Facebook is notorious for this. I mean, look, they've copied stories, for instance, from Snapchat. They've copied, you know, long form video features from YouTube. So they love cribbing from other platforms, but Twitter, they'd always kind of ignored because they were so different than Twitter, and Twitter was never that successful. But I think that they, like many other platforms, saw an opening here, but they certainly don't have a ton of resources dedicated to it. So I'm sure that they're scrambling right now within Facebook to, you know, dedicate those resources and capture, you know, roll out the features that will keep users engaged.
Yeah, you mentioned some of the features like DMing and hashtags. I mean, are there any other features you think, you know, we can expect from Threads as more employees start kind of working on the app and we start to kind of see the ball rolling?
Certainly. I think there's two things that I'm certainly watching for. One is trending. So Facebook in 2018 famously shut down its Facebook trends, like that they had a trending section on Facebook, and they shut it down because it was so easily manipulated by bad actors. And it was kind of a nightmare for them, and they couldn't police it very well. Twitter, we know that far right actors constantly manipulate Twitter trends in order to spread their messaging and stuff. So the trending section on Twitter is also really fraught. I'm really interested to see if Facebook will replicate that. Mosseri said that they want to make it easier for users to follow trends on the platform. And I don't know if you've noticed, but recently on Instagram, when you go to search something, for instance, in the search bar, you'll see now there's suggested searches with little arrow up, almost like a trending thing up. So they're clearly exploring trending content, and we'll see if they roll something like that out. I personally, no idea if this is on the roadmap, but if anyone from Instagram is listening, I'm hoping for a desktop version. I think a lot of us in news, we want to use it on desktop. We don't want to be on our phone all day. So I'm hoping for that as well.
I'm currently interning at Center for American Progress on their digital team. And one of the things that everyone's been saying is we want a desktop version so we can scroll on our computer. But it definitely seems like hopefully they do that. I want to talk to you about Twitter, though, because you had this great piece in the Washington Post recently about kind of the downfall of Twitter and what it's become now. What are you hearing from Twitter employees and from Elon Musk now that Threads is out? How angry are they? And what does the future of Twitter look like?
Well, Musk himself is really angry. I think the employees left there. Some of them are like, so I mean, a lot of people are just working there under duress because they're on visas and because they can't afford to lose their job right now. You know, I don't know that a lot of them care as much, but I do think that Elon has obviously taken this extremely personally and is really upset. And we'll see how that plays out. Like he continues to kind of bite at Zuckerberg's heels and challenge him to all these, fights and contests and things. And Zuck has just been like sort of heads down, training with his MMA squad and like rolling out features. So,
Yep.
We'll see how it plays out. But I do think that Twitter continues to lose cultural relevance. And clearly that's getting under Elon's skin because I think thought he could buy this and not face any competition, and he's faced extremely steep competition. Twitter is worth less than 33% of its value, and it hasn't even been a year. So imagine buying something for $44 billion and it loses, such a significant amount of its value in just a matter of months. It's almost shockingly impressive that he's been able to erase that much value. So,
is there any data in terms of how many people are leaving Twitter for Threads? Like, is Threads because I know a lot of my people that I interact with on Twitter tend to be on the older side, and they flock to like Mastodon and Post and Spoutable, and the main thing for them was finding a viable alternative that was easy to understand. Do you think a lot of those kind of older folks are transitioning to Threads, and that Threads is understandable for them?
Oh, yeah. I mean, Threads is so easy to use because and a lot of those older folks already have Instagram accounts. They understand Instagram.
Right.
They're in that ecosystem already. Something like Post, which has bizarre community guidelines, it's very different and Mastodon is the same thing. It's complicated. You can't find people on different servers very easily. There's no quote tweeting. So I just don't see those taking off. I think Mastodon is a great place for tech discussions. I think there'll always be a really strong tech community there because it is a sort of techies platform. But for the average older user, I mean, my mom is already on Threads and my mom has no social media. She's never posted a tweet in her life. So, I think it's saying something.
Yeah. So my last question is for you. I mean, it's funny because we have Elon Musk, who's a billionaire, also Mark Zuckerberg, who's a billionaire. I'm wondering, do you think we'll ever get a social media platform that's going to be huge that isn't made by a billionaire?
I want that's my dream, Victor. I mean, I think it speaks to America and the landscape. And I think it's quite notable that the only platform that could meaningfully compete with these billionaire owned, social media apps was TikTok, which is owned by a billionaire, Chinese tech conglomerate, multi-billion-dollar Chinese tech conglomerate. So I think that just shows the level of resources that you have to really compete in this market. And I do think that regulators will be watching Meta now because, there was all this conversation about sort of antitrust and Meta having too much share of the market. With TikTok rising, that cooled down. But I do think if they're able to capture this massive new amount of market share, those antitrust, those talks might come back up.
Yeah. It'll be such an interesting space to watch. And I lied. I have one more question for you, which is I mentioned your book at the outset of this conversation. Talk to us about your book. Give us like a little sneak preview of when that comes out, what it's about, and where we can find it once it does come out.
Yes, it's available for pre-order right now. So pre-order it. It's called, it's about the rise of social media. I mean, it's essentially a social history of the rise of social media from the year 2000 to 2020. And it really tells the story of these content creators and really influential people and sort of these adjacent entrepreneurs that shaped the social landscape. I think we've had so many books that tell the corporate narratives of the Facebook story, the YouTube story, and I love those books. I read them all. But I wanted to tell the history of social media from a user's side and from a cultural standpoint and talk about this massive content creator and influencer industry that actually really shapes these platforms and shapes our culture and shapes our political landscape and all of that. So if you're interested at all, please pre-order. Pre-orders are like the only thing that matters for authors. So you can get it on Amazon, Bookshop, all of those. It's available now.
Definitely. And you might need a part 2 considering kind of what's happening with Threads. Maybe you'll have a sequel for us. Taylor, thank you so much for joining in. Thank you for all that you're doing to cover this ever evolving social media landscape. I know a lot of people appreciate it. And thank you for all that you do.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Thanks so much. Well, Taylor is so much fun, and if you have ever kind of followed her on social media, it's so funny. When I was saying that Taylor Lorenz would join me today, someone on social media said, "I didn't realize she was a tech reporter. I thought she was a comedian," because I mean, she does post really funny stuff, very culturally relevant stuff, and she has a great personality on Threads. And I think she's found her personality on Threads and all of the different social media platforms. So follow Taylor Lorenz wherever you have a social media platform, whether it's TikTok. She's basically everywhere. So go follow her. She also has a I guess one of those blogging websites. I forgot what it's called, but she has a blogging website that she does. So go follow her there. It's a great platform, and I know Taylor will be covering Threads very closely on Threads and also on Washington Post and wherever she is. So go follow her and go pre-order her book, Extremely Online. It's going to be a great read, and I can't wait to have her back on to talk about that. So join us then. But you can also join us right here on youtube.com/Politicon or on Twitter, on my Twitter page, VictorShe2020 at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific time every weekday. We'll be back on Thursday. I will be in Chicago for the Netroots Nation conference. It's basically a conference with a lot of different progressives and content creators and people in the progressive community. So I'll be joined there with a special guest. So you don't want to miss that. Tomorrow I'll be traveling, but I'll be back on Thursday again at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific, right here on youtube.com/Politicon or on my Twitter page at VictorShe2020. Be sure to follow Taylor. And I thought of it, Substack is where she's also on, and she does a lot of great work there. So go follow her there, wherever you're on your social media platform. She's a great follow. And thank you all for watching this episode of On the Move. I will see you all on Thursday from Chicago. Have a great rest of your Tuesday.